Thank you for your presence. Does love mean the falling away of personhood? Call me. I remember that Tony said once, who does surrendering? It couldn't be done because there is nobody there in the first place. Any comment on this? Can we call Jonas? So you can just, I know you wrote it out in the end, but you could just ask your question again.
Yeah, one of the things was what comes up that Tony Parsons I was on his talk and he said, okay, who is there to surrender?
Yeah.
I mean, I love this idea to surrender because when you go to non-duality talks, it's always said there's nobody there.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that surrender is just an illusion. There's nobody there to who could surrender.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah. On the human level, I think it's there seems to be a process of surrendering that happens.
Yeah.
But in the end, who is there to surrender? Who surrenders now? Who speaks now? Who looks now? Like in the end, there is just this moment. There is just everything.
So nothing could be done at the end of the day.
Doing happens.
Yeah.
Like, and the idea that there's nothing that could be done, it's the same as when you thought there could be something that you could do. Like they're both ideas. Like it's a happening, and if you have the impulse to surrender, then that's beautiful. If you have the idea to fight, then that's beautiful, but most probably has a lot more suffering in it. If you have the idea to do a meditation practice, and it maybe leads to more suffering or less, we don't know. But all of it was going to happen or not happen anyway, whether you believe the idea that it's there's somebody that can do it or not.
Actually, what comes up in for 1 or 2 weeks is pops up the idea, hey, you are not in the game. You never was there. You never done anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the person's just like jumping up, like trying to jump into the camera. It's like trying to jump in on the selfie. Like, here I am. But yeah, it's never really in the game.
Yeah. And probably you could say something about the connection to the body. So what comes up last week, I have as a teenager, a little bit later, a rash for skin problems, and itching, and all the time you're scratching till you're bleeding. And I thought, no wonder I'm believing I'm this body still, because when you have a strong pain in the body, strong itching, it seems to happen to a person, to happen to you. And growing up with this condition, more or less, whenever I'm looking at another person, more or less, I think that's a real person there. I mean, I feel this body, I feel this itching, I feel everything, and over there, it seems to create a separation somehow, and it's so deeply ingrained, more or less, that I could not do anything about it. Because to fight against it, more or less, it really increases it also.
Yeah, the pain of it. Yeah, I mean, like the might be things that help it, but it's the attachment. It's like when you have an idea to do something, or you get a new remedy, or the hope that something could change it, then there is attachment to that, and it's like being attached to the person you're falling in love with. You have all these stories of what's going to come, and then when that doesn't come, then you get heartbroken all over again. So yeah. It's not actually the act of doing something about it. Like I have a scratchy back at the moment. I get into scratching my back because, yeah, I'm taking I do the Wim Hof stuff and I'm taking too many baths and it's making my back dry, and then I get into scratching it. And I don't think it's maybe on your level, like it's not that bad. I can restrain myself and I don't feel it most of the time. But like there's nothing wrong with putting on ointment to it, or doing different things. Like they suggest not taking a hot shower and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. But, like there's nothing wrong with doing that. But if you're attached to the outcomes, then it becomes big suffering because you've got a big expectation of what it's going to be like, and then when that doesn't happen, then it hurts you. What you're doing actually is you're using the idea of the relief to try to pacify you now. So it's like you have this hope, and then this hope is pacifying the suffering. I mean, this is all in the human world, and then it's sort of the attachment and the seeking gets involved in it.
Yeah, because as long as you are in a strong pain or so, you try to looking for a solution.
Yeah.
You'd like to go out of it.
Yeah, totally.
And the end of the day, when you are objectify your life, and you say, I like to go out of it, because whatever you do, whatever you experience, in the end of the day, it's painful. Because whatever you gain or attain or whatever, you're gonna lose it. Because nothing is stationary, everything is passing. So, and especially what I recognized last week, I did not wonder why the seeking energy comes up, and it's really strong in some cases, because when you are feeling this kind of I'm trapped here in this body, you try to find a solution somehow.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And there's nothing wrong with the attempt to find solution, but it's life's will as to what's going to manifest. So you put your desire out there, like including myself, everybody, we put our desire out there. Like, so desire comes up for whatever it is, and then it's totally life's will as to what's happening. And a healthy way on the human level to look at it, I found, but you might not find that, is that everything's a teaching. So if the pain persists, then it has to become your teacher. And this is a healthy way of looking at it, because then it's becoming something that helps you rather than this big bad demon that's like pulling you back. So if I was in that situation, I mean, I might be in like terrible agony and complaining all the time, but what I would aspire to is to see it as a bell, like that. Like if it gets too painful, if there gets anxiety around it, like using that as a bell to remind me of what is. Like, because it's only here in this moment that pain, you'll find relief, really, if it's really strong pain.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment it's not better, but I see that is a kind of conditioning, more or less, because I remember that quite easily. And even, I mean, when I come to non-duality talks, I could reflect on an intellectual level that there is no person in there. But when this itching comes up, or this pain comes up, all your seemingly intellectual knowledge didn't brings you anywhere. It didn't help you, because it's there. It's really painful or whatever, or you have a love affair and your heart breaks or whatever happened. It feels so real, more or less, and you could not you could abstract yourself on an intellectual level, but on your felt level, you could not get out of it. That seems to me quite difficult. And on a felt sense, I'm feeling in the outer or when this apparent body-mind connection comes in contact with the outer world, more or less, I recognize that there's this contraction I try to get out of, increase more or less. On the one side, I try to calm down, meditate, whatever, what kind of solution comes up. On the other side is when I go into contact with outer situations, um, the seemingly personhood get increased
Mm.
because it reflects me that there's the outer contact, it seemingly reflect all the time that there's a person in there.
Mm. Yeah, totally. But all of that's not happening to you now. Do you have a sense of that? Like I get the sense when I'm listening to you that you're holding that tight and close to you now. I mean, I know you're speaking with me, but there's also this like it's also not happening. Like there's also something beyond that. So the person has this perspective and is speaking to me and feeling all these things, and then it's also not happening to you. Like it's also appearing and disappearing into stillness and silence. Like there's no one that it's happening to. The person becomes very attached, and then it thinks about itself and its feelings and its thoughts, and it holds on to that. And then behind that, or in that, there is this emptiness, this love, in which it just disappears, in which it's held.
That's something that comes up when I listen to your talks, that it sometimes looks like there is a Lisa there and then a Lisa disappear. And especially when I have the sense of, oh, there's no Lisa anymore. And there's so much freedom there. There's so much space there left. So that's something really beautiful. At your talks, there's this felt sense. Hey, it's not serious. There's nobody there, and that is a kind of relief. But as I said, on a daily basis, more or less, those contractions come back.
I wouldn't give that part too much energy. It's like thinking about. I know you can't help it; it's what will appear. But maybe just me saying this will change something. It's like if you go into a room, and before you go into that room, you think about something you don't like. So say the color blue. Like, so you're like, I don't want to see blue. I don't want to see blue. I don't want to see blue. And then when you open the door, I assure you, all you'll see is blue.
Yeah.
So with that story about your daily life, like it's not really happening now. So you've got pain, you've got discomfort, you've got these other things that are happening, and that's what's happening. But the story about the rest of your life is really not happening here. So if it just comes up, I wouldn't give it too much attention. You could also look at it and see, why is that story coming up now? And just for an example, you might feel like, oh, it's coming up because I feel victimized, and that's one of the things I feel victimized about, or something like that. But it's also like just not feeding that's not what's actually happening now. What's happening now is these feelings in your body, these thoughts that are appearing now, the sound of my voice, the room. But if it happens, it happens. Like, I don't mean to shame you in any way, like to say that you're doing anything wrong. Like, actually, you're perfect.
Yeah, you said sometimes that's just what's appearing now. That's just what happened. This life expressing it in this way, uniquely, more or less. And when life like to express itself in this way, more or less, as pain, as whatever, it's okay. So even if it feels for the apparent person, it definitely feels not okay. It's a way that life expresses itself. That's okay, more or less. And I say, okay, when life like to express itself on this way, I have to go through it. I couldn't fight against it. Because the fighting against what is, more or less, brings a lot of pain. That's what happened during, I think, last 30, 40 years, or more, my whole life, is that I fight against what happened. I mean, the suffering part is not what appears. The suffering part is that I resist.
Yeah, the separation, and then there's the resistance.
Yeah. But I think this kind of resistance is also what's happening.
Totally.
There's a programming more or less from childhood on or whatever. Probably there are some relaxations or whatever, or it could be seen probably that it's not real, more or less. It's just a program that's playing out. But it's not that what something I see some weeks ago or so. Life is not personally.
Totally. It is not personal.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, it's just it's like in a movie theater, you didn't take it personally. It's just light and shadow play what's playing out.
Yeah, nice. Okay, well, thank you very much for calling in and asking questions and being open to being vulnerable. I know it's a big thing calling in.
No worries.
Yeah,
Thank
nice
you.
to speak with you. Yeah, lots of love to you, Jonas.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.